So do you have any questions? Before we get started, I threw this up I had Kyle throw this up because this is kind of the newest issue in the last few years is cyber liability coverage, which I think Melanie actually had one at the Doggy Dudes where they hacked into her system and they froze it and they demanded $5,000 to unlock it.
God.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today. As a matter of fact, last week I got a call from my HR person out of the Towanda office that said, Sean, somebody has stolen your identity, your name, and your social security number, and they filed for unemployment compensation benefits. So I had to call the police, call the credit agencies and have them freeze everything, and call the banks, let them know that my identity had been stolen. Nothing else has happened. I did sign up for LifeLock immediately. I'm not advocating LifeLock one way or the other, but I did have 109. I got a message the other day that they foiled 109 attempts to hack into my accounts or get into my IP address. Wow. So they're doing it all day long. There's 10,000 attempts on small businesses every day.
What do you know about KeyPass?
Not sure. Is it a security issue?
Yeah, I don't know anything about it. My nephew sent me a link, which I didn't print out and bring. I should have brought it with me. He's a computer guru, works for IBM down in North Carolina. But he said that I should get into KeyPass where they store all of your passwords. And I don't know why that would be any safer than anywhere else, but if you have a lot of other.
It's another layer of security.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about buying the insurance. If you don't have a security program on your system, there's no reason to buy the insurance. The insurance is there. The cyber liability insurance will trigger if your security has been breached. Okay. So it's kind of like, you can't collect on fire on a house insurance unless you actually have a house. So you got to have the security in place. LifeLock or KeyPass may offer some. Norton's got the LifeLock, and there's a person at the Guthrie, or used to be at the Guthrie, that Kyle knows that is working on some security stuff too, right, Kyle?
Eric Merlin. He's my IT guy.
So yeah, he's got some security things. I mean, he's a local guy that would be able to talk about that. But this only will come into play if you have security.
Yeah, he has.
Does it matter how high the security level is?
As long as you have security.
Support our customers.
He's amazing. I hired him for Straight Haven as well. Because he's amazing. That's why I'm like, I don't usually worry about security at the office.
And is this for business and personal or just business?
Right now, we're talking about business. When they talk about the 5 reason hackers target SMEs, they're talking about small to medium entities. Okay. All right. So if you take a look at that on the screen, there's a massive influx of remote working right now. People are working from home for many businesses, and there's total risk because they have the security in place, but now you're working off everybody's home internet and Wi-Fi. And let's just give you an example of what happens when I deal with farmer, for example, a dairy farmer. That seems to be this latest one I did. They have robots now that milk cows. So they put these robots in. The cows go in and get milked when they need to get. They know when they have to get milk, and it feeds them. It does all that stuff. There's not a lot of human interaction, but it's all hooked to their phone, which is run through Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and their internet. So somebody wants to shut the farm down. Now the cows won't survive without being milked. They'll dry up and it'll ruin them. They'll never be milked again if they miss milking.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's got to be a quick turnaround as far as somebody wants $10,000 or $100,000 to unlock their system. So that's why we try to sell cyber liability coverage, because it's excluded and not covered under normal property and commercial insurance. You have to add it on. Okay. You can insure your software, you can insure your hardware, But when it comes to an attack by a hacker, you have to have this coverage in order for you to get paid back.
So what's the turnaround time? Say if somebody hacked into something like that at a farm,
We'd have to have a turnaround today.
so that farmer would have the money or whatever he needed.
The insurance company would pay the ransom immediately, so it would turn the system back on at the farm. That's what's been happening.
And how much is that insurance if you guys know that it's a high risk?
It depends on the records, how many records are in the farm's case, how many cows do they have is that's how they're doing it there. But in your case, how many records do you have? How many records, customers, in your case, the radio station, you'd be working with advertising customers.
Mhm.
How many do you have? And that's how they would rate based on that type of exposure.
And do you do like a risk analysis of like, okay, this is, Irene has the radio station for those customers, but Irene doesn't, if somebody locks up my system, for me, it's not the end of the day because I still have another copy someplace else.
Right, and you can, if you have that, then you're good. And if you have security in place, you're
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
But if you drop another system in place, you'd have to have a whole new IP address, the whole works, because everything's gonna be locked.
Yeah, this happened to Dave before I was around, but somebody got into one of the computers and just erased everything. And that was before we had security, before we had saved files elsewhere, like that was a big deal.
And see, in that case, they probably said, if you want it back,
Oh, yeah, we weren't getting it back.
they want a lot of money.
Yeah,
With Melanie, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn with her, because she and my wife are good friends, but they wanted $5,000, and it's a small shop. That's a lot of money for a small shop like that. But today they're going for 10 up to 100,000. They're calling it
Now, do you think
playing hardball.
these are people like near our, like maybe not right neighbors or anything,
Could
but
be,
I mean, they're not someone in New York City sitting and doing all of this, do you think?
could be somebody in another country.
I would guess.
I would guess it's probably so they don't get caught.
I
Right.
just wonder how do they get that information?
Well, there's in 2019, was it? 2019 when the cloud was introduced, which is big storage facilities.
2013.
2013, they introduced the cloud, which is huge storage facilities for data. I was out visiting my son in Arizona, and we're driving down the road, and I said, "What's this huge building?" It took us 5 minutes to drive by it. He goes, "That's a data storage facility." So it's a cloud. That's what they call it. They call it the cloud, but it's just a big storage facility. It's all a bunch of computers.
I thought it was a satellite.
Yeah. Well, it could be, but
We did.
in this particular case, I think they have to be able to work on it.
Oh, okay.
But they did that in 2013. They did that dump. They dumped everything like Apple and Google. They all,
When the shift towards cloud storage really started,
right.
and the stat was sent from the start of that to now, I don't remember the number. More than there were people on Earth. Remember that was the joke.
Oh, yeah, it was-
It was 9.7 billion
9.7 billion breaches
since the cloud started.
since the cloud
7
started.
billion.
Wow.
They didn't have
7.75
security.
billion people on
They
Earth.
didn't set up the security for the cloud. You might have had security, but when they set it,
Why
whoever
would
sent it to,
they even think of not doing that?
Yeah, how come we can't?
And not only that, how
Secure
would the
it, stuff.
government grant that type of situation to take place without some FDIC or, well, not Federal Trade, what's the
I agree.
communication systems?
I agree.
Like, I know I have to jump through hoops with every regulator.
Yeah, it was just a screw up.
Yeah.
And then you had Target. You remember Target got breached and they took all those credit card numbers.
Oh, yeah, we
That's
have
a
all the
start.
breaches still.
Yeah, and so anytime you have one of those breaches, we had Excellus Blue Cross Blue Shield got breached here a few years
Who
back.
are these genius people that know how to do this?
I know.
I mean,
Can you
seriously,
imagine if they were legitimate, how much money they'd
Right.
make? It's
Yeah.
crazy, isn't it?
good job.
Start repairing our nation.
Wow.
So that's the insurance. Do you have any other questions? There's a couple of things. The small businesses is what we wanted to touch on here, and the small businesses are vulnerable to social engineering, and that's the ransomware. Being hacked is one thing. They can hack in and steal some of your information, like banking information. But when they call it social engineering, that's the ransom. That's another social engineering trick that they use is, I had a feed store, a farm store up in Bath, New York. The guy was selling Mahindra tractors. And he got an email and said, hey, I'd like to buy 2 Mahindra tractors. You go ahead and pay me the freight now. And I'll go ahead and I'll pay for everything at once. And I'll have the money transferred to your bank. So he went in and figured out what the freight was, or had the freight company tell him. So he paid the freight to a number on the screen. Okay. And boom. I mean, it was 60 grand.
Oh my gosh.
So that's another social engineering trick. Another one is, I had one with one of the local contractors, where a company out of New York City called and said, hey, or they called the company out of New York City and said, hey, are you going to pay your bill? Some plaza. They were working on paving or excavating or something. And so we paid that 2 months ago. So can you trace it down? They got an email, so go ahead and send your, I don't know how they got the information on the invoice, but the company ended up paying somebody that hacked in. Total invoice amount was like 200 grand.
Oh my gosh. So for those situations, because like the one with the tractors, that's an email situation, so you covered it still.
Yes, that would have been covered if they had.
If
They didn't have
Oh,
cyber
okay. But
liability.
if they had,
He worked it out with his bank, but his bank's still charging him 60 grand.
so it's not necessarily that you have something on your computer, it's also if you get involved into some kind of scam.
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah.
I wish I had it for the people too. My elderly.
There are some personal cyber products. We're just kind of getting them.
Yeah, you'll have some personal identity theft is mainly the way we want to go, and they're going to build on the identity theft coverage.
Speaking of that, my husband, I came home a month ago and he goes, hey, I was on the phone for half an hour with Social Security. Immediately I went, oh my God, what did you do? Well, they wanted to know the numbers on my red and blue card. I said, you didn't give them to me. He goes, yeah, I read them all. And then they wanted to know how tall I was and how much I said, oh my God, Haley, no. Social Security will never, ever call you at home and ask you. But he didn't understand. They made it sound legit, like they were from this agency and they were just verifying information, and he spilled it all out. So I called Social Security. I had to call this and call that. Luckily, nothing has happened with our finances or with any of our information, but that's how easy it can be given away. They sound legit. But those are the kind of things that nobody will ever call you from Social Security and ask you to verify anything. So I actually pulled it up on my phone and it says, see, read this. It says they will never call you at home. So now he's not allowed to answer the phone. Let the machine get it. I'll talk to him when I get home, because he doesn't really understand, but it happens a lot with older people too. When my father-in-law lived with us, he was buying every magazine, everything, everyone that called, he thought it was all legit.
That's what Julie is, same thing, my sister. Their garage is full of stuff that gray orders.
Yeah.
It's, so he's never gonna have a wood shop, you know? He's talking and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, another one of the scams are phishing emails. Like you'll get an email, a notification from what seems like your bank. Your address has been changed in your account. Log in. Right. Well, that's asking. That's a different one. Like you're looking for money.
Yeah.
But this is like just say like something small has been changed in your account. Log in to confirm it. So click the link to come to your login page, and it's not your real page.
Right.
They need a fake that looks just like that page. When you type in your username and password, it just sends them your username and password, and they can log into the real site.
Yeah.
And then they have access.
I got
to
that
everything.
once with DHL. You have a package that they tried to deliver.
Oh,
Click
yeah.
here. I clicked there and my whole computer shut down. I'm freaking out because I'm thinking I thought, what did I miss? I missed a delivery. It was all,
So every time I get something like that now, because my husband's OCD when it comes to security and opening emails because of what happened to him years and years ago.
yeah,
So I always click the email address to see what the
Yeah.
email address is, because it's usually
Not who you think it is.
not who you think it
well,
is.
once a month we get one from Sue Williams, who's our chamber president. but it's not her email address. So now everyone is more aware of looking at the email address because it will say, hey, wondering if you can help me out. I'm in a bind, I'm in a meeting and I need your help. First time it happened, I went, oh gosh, Sue, sure. And then I went, oh no.
One of my
This
board
is-
members did put out money.
Yeah,
Oh, boy.
yeah.
Now, I know, so the bank, we have the security and everything, but we just got an email that said that that system was down. And to be very careful what we were using outside of the bank, because we're kind of like at the mercy right now.
Because people are some people are working from.
Working from home, yeah.
Yeah, this is where we're seeing a lot of it now. It's so,
So I mean, you can
Is it
have
your
that
car?
back end of security, but then for some reason, I don't know why it's down, but it was down today.
Somebody's car alarm is going off.
It was my car. Because I put my key in my backpack. I'm like,
Oh.
I never heard my alarm go off before, so I didn't know it was me until I, that was fun.
Yeah, you can be tricked so easily though.
Scary world.
Yes, it is.
so if you go to 3, let's talk about that a little bit. So that everybody understands, it's small businesses often feel that they must pay ransom faced with choosing between paying a ransom demand that may get them back online faster or enduring the long period of potential business crippling downtime. What they're saying here is don't pay it. I mean, get your insurance lined up and get your professionals in there, because there's a bunch of things that happen when you get hacked. You get hacked and you're at your business identity or your personal identity. You have your reputation, because if you have customers attached to that hacking,
Right.
you know, you're going to want to protect your reputation, and they do have a team of people, these carriers, that will jump on that and get you maintain a reputable for you. They'll contact the customers, let them know that you've been hacked. They'll offer them some type of free security system for their stuff, and it all comes off of this insurance. Okay, does that make
You've got your
sense?
employees' records too.
Right, your employees, your customers, anything that you might store in your system. That's the way they first started hacking into people's systems. But then when they got into this social engineering and ransomware, the other one's kind of gone by the wayside, but you still have to protect yourself because they may still have all those records. Okay, so that's just something to tell small businesses that now that we're in the computer age where we've come, what, the last 25 years, it's just, you just have to be very cautious. They're a godsend to help you run your business, but at the same time, you gotta be very cautious.
I mean, most of, let's say around here, most of our small businesses, they've got their, I don't know, the big block for their hard drive, and then probably monitor.
Mhm.
And they don't have like a separate server, most of
Right.
them, right?
Right, it's a small business, but see, the reason they picked small businesses, and you're gonna send everybody this, right? Kyle? Please.
Yeah, I can send them.
The reason they go for the small businesses is because that's the gateway to the larger ones, right? So let's say we were able to hack into, say, Melanie Stratton's business, all right? And they were insured by an agency like this. Well, that's how they can,
Right,
you follow me?
yeah.
They can-
Or even like with
Yes.
us, when Loprinos does a direct payment to the bank, now their information is in there
Right,
in,
so that's why the small businesses use large business suppliers.
right.
So it's just like a big spider effect. So that's that. Anybody have any questions on that? There is a little bit of a,
So what do you suggest the businesses do if they feel that they've gotten into this? What's the first thing they should do?
they should probably get some security first. That's the first thing they need to do. The second thing they need to do if they want to continue with the insurance is at least get a quote so they can make a business decision whether they should have the insurance or not. Okay, I think, say maybe the radio station, did you guys get a quote on cyber? You remember?
I don't think so, because we have Eric, so I don't think so.
Okay. I'm thinking like the radio station might be $1,500 a year, 2,000 maybe.
Oh, wow.
It's not cheap, but it's a lot cheaper than 100 grand.
So do you recommend that they take their hard drive someplace to a tech and have them I mean,
Clean
is there
it?
anything, yeah, I mean. is there
Probably before they put security on,
Or do you,
100%, they might
do you
want to have an
recommend they
IT
just buy
person.
brand new? I mean, what do you?
No, they could stick with what they have. They could have an IT specialist like Eric come in, look their system over, make sure it's clean, and then add the security to it. And then if you want to, buy the insurance on top of that.
No, I know, and I don't even know if this is right or not, but I know when we talk to our clients who get that, we tell them to unplug the computer really quick and leave it on for a while.
Well, you should, yeah. I mean, as soon as you think you're hacked, if you unplug everything, you should be okay. But the problem is, if they've gotten that far, they've already got your IP address, they've got all that stuff. So as soon as you plug back in, they might get tired of waiting for it, or their program, that one that spins,
Mhm.
they're
So they
always.
might get a partial or whatever.
Right, they might get some partial data.
Do you offer preventative measures to it? Like, I know you have the insurance, but like, will Eric be offering preventative service?
Yeah, that's kind of where we're going with that partnership, is that actually for Evolve, this is our main commercial cyber carrier. You have to have a certain number of security measures in place to get the insurance. So we'd be bringing in Eric to kind of, okay, we'll look at your system, see what you have, because most people aren't even going to know on this list of security measures whether they have it or not. So he'd be able to identify that. We'll go through and then say, okay, in order to get the insurance, we need to add this, this, this. And then that's where he can add that extra security. Then the insurance comes in if there's ever something that they can get around. Yeah. I'm sure Excel's Blue Cross Blue Shield had plenty of, plenty of security, but it still happened.
Exactly. Excel, it says, they're a big Blue Cross Blue Shield.
HIPAA rules and like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
had to be like the apex of security and still got breached.
Who are these genius people? I don't even.
It's amazing to try to figure it out.
Right?
Somebody in a basement
Why are
someplace.
they not getting caught? Like,
I think some of them are.
I think it's
Just
just
hard.
in the country.
it's amazing.
When I called the police station to report my identity theft, I talked to Nikki
From Sarah?
and Nikki Huffman.
Yeah.
Nikki Huffman. And she goes, Sean, she said, I've taken 20 calls myself. And we've had 2 officers that had the same thing happen to them. So it's happening all over. Max Mark had it happen to him.
We probably had about 15 clients who had
Have you?
this situation throughout the area too.
Yeah, it's nuts.
And that's just my branch, so I can imagine.
But see, when they called the unemployment compensation board, they're so busy, they aren't even checking into it. All they're doing is making the applications and mailing out the debit card.
What?
Yes. So these people probably did collect on my name, social security number. So now I have to watch for an income tax return
Right?
coming from them, right? Or them sending me something and I didn't earn that money. So it'll be.
But aren't, most people now are doing everything on their computers and phones, paying
Yeah.
their bills, doing all their
I do.
banking. But I'm leery of doing that for this very reason.
I do just because it's easy, you know?
Yeah.
Customers can pay online
Yeah,
and I have customers on auto pay, they can pay online. their
Yeah.
invoice.
but I'm leery of doing any of my banking online. But I know my kids don't ever walk into a bank. Everything is on their phone.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
it makes me nervous to do that. I want to walk in and get my receipt and take my money.
I remember when I was at the beverage, I had guys who would take their checks and just cash them.
Yeah,
Well, what do you do with the cash? Take it home.
yeah.
I must have a drawer full of cash someplace.
Wow.
Probably
Yeah,
40% of our social security people, they come in and just cash.
I've heard a lot of people lately are taking all their cash.
That's just how they have always been.
Yeah,
It's not anything to do with the change, it's just about 40% of them just go in and cash out and take their money and they're living just by that way.
Isn't that wild?
yeah.
And then the ones who don't, it goes back, it goes really quick and they're like, I don't have enough money.
Not a fixed income.
So I wanted to touch base on that it's a gateway to the larger ones. That's why they come after the small business. The small businesses are sometimes not targeted.
What's
At
an
all.
SME? Just
That's
because I know.
that's small, medium entities,
Okay.
small or medium entities.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, knowing that now is the time where people are working from their houses, so do you also cover that type of situation? You know, does it encapsulate all your employees or, and their?
Yes, it would, because, I mean, I work from home and I plug in, I use my internet and I plug in the Gannon's here. I just log into Gannon. And, so I'm covered at home by the same thing they're covered with here.
Now, do you do that through VPN or you?
Yeah, I mean, it just goes through Wi-Fi, Bluetooth internet. It's kind of scary, isn't it?
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, you
Yeah.
must have, yeah, the VPN would have, does the bank use VPN probably? Yeah,
We have to.
what's that?
So it
Virtual
goes through the
private.
server
Virtual?
private network.
Okay.
and it runs through the server.
Yeah, that's what we would have, right? VPN.
Yeah, you have definitely VPN here with insurance stuff.
But if you didn't have that, maybe it wouldn't be a.
Like, probably wouldn't let us work from home or use our computers.
100%.
I use Dropbox.
I use
Yes,
Jupyter. I
we
use
do too.
Dropbox,
Okay.
everything.
Yeah, probably the Dropbox you're using is not necessarily gonna be a full-on VPN,
Okay.
though. I guess I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure.
Well,
like a
you
basic
can allow
Dropbox
certain
is
permissions to that,
On a basic.
not a basic,
I was
no.
gonna say, I thought that was, you'd have to like buy up on the, like, we've got like a full-on, where we've got the whole tree right on it. You
Yeah.
can access it from anywhere.
Yes.
So like, that's a little more in-depth than your basic package. Because I use Dropbox personally a lot too, and I'm pretty sure that's not
Yeah, we just do the basic,
that, so.
$109 a year or something.
Yeah, I would be surprised if that has that.
So anyway, getting back to it a little bit here, the first party, was never really considered as much as, the third party. Third party here would be your customers or your employees. You being the first party. Well, as it has evolved into the ransomware and the social engineering, now 96% of the claims coming in are first party. So they're coming from the business itself. They're not really paying much attention to the customers. So
Depending on maybe if
I don't know who
it's
it
a
is.
customer.
If it's a bank, it might be a little different, but for most part, just the small business itself, 96% are going after the small business itself. That's about that on that stuff, right, Kyle? You guys have any questions about any other types of insurance or any of this stuff?
I have a question about another type of insurance.
Okay.
So, I don't know what it's called, but basically, if I have an employee on the air, or say they put an article on our community, the myhometowntoday.com, and they use a picture from Google that they don't own the rights to. There's a special insurance that a lot of our broadcast friends carry that protect them against like copyright lawsuits and.
You do have broadcast liability. I know you have that.
Okay, is that the same thing?
Broadcaster's liability, but what you would have on your general liability would be a, they call it personal injury, not a bodily injury. It's character slander.
Yeah, so what's that then? That's,
That's called personal injury on your general liability. Everybody has it on their general liability.
and we have that too? That part on if we didn't have it.
Well, personal injury on your general liability would cover something in, just like you're saying, it's an infringement on somebody's advertising rights.
So this is more of a copyright issue. then.
Yeah, well, I
So same
mean,
thing.
well, I'll tell you what, it's like tires are us, tattoos are us, Toys R Us sued everybody that came out with that years ago.
Right,
That's basically what you're talking about. They're infringing on their copyrights.
yeah,
So-
this would just be images online, but
Right.
one of her friends had a picture of a fish on her website, an article that was posted by one of her employees like 4 or 5 years ago. And now she's getting sued for $50,000 for the use of that picture.
Unlawful use of, or run something probably on without permission.
So I just want to make sure that we have that coverage. God forbid, there's something that I don't know we have that is not ours, or we don't have the rights to use.
What goes, I mean, it goes pretty deep. Kyle can talk about this because I was reading about it. There's actually bands, music bands, rock bands, that are suing other rock bands for the use of a certain chord, right, in a song.
I heard that, yeah.
So it's not unheard of. So that'd be the same thing. It'd be the your infringement.
See, I don't see how you could even.
It's a copyright infringement.
It's a piece of equipment that's made to do all that, so.
But it's their creative.
I think they won. I think they won too, so.
Well, you know, you know, when I have a commercial, like I had this a couple of years ago, and I could have taken it further, but I didn't. All the commercials that we create, we own them. You know, it's through our creative department, like we own that. I had one customer that's no longer in business, surprise, surprise, that took a commercial that I made that was really good and wanted to use it on, just wasn't gonna advertise with us, said he was, because every customer gets a free ad when they come with us. And decided to give it to all the radio stations down towards like New Jersey to use without permission at all. So it's, yeah, similar.
How'd you find out?
Well, my aunt lives in New Jersey.
Oh.
And honestly, I probably wouldn't have found out if it wasn't for her, but
No.
I think the rule is you contact them and ask them to cease and desist it first, and then if they don't, then
yeah, and honestly, with all this, how busy we always are, I didn't have time for it. I'm like, you know what? Prioritize, that's not worth it to me right now.
any other questions?
So the commercials that advertisers buy, they don't own, you own?
They can use them, they own them. I just, like when I'm spending time putting together a commercial, you don't want your hard-earned work to be taken advantage of. Like I don't care if a customer's on with me and they want to advertise with somebody else, I'll send the commercial over to the other station and everybody's happy.
Right.
But I'm not gonna do your commercial for free so you can go give it to my competitor. That is not gonna happen.
But if they air it on your station.
If they
then
use it on my
they own
station, then
it?
they could use it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, in this particular case that I was talking about, this customer they literally went through the process, not gonna have me create a commercial.
So you could have billed them for your production.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I have customers that are not anywhere near this market that like the commercials that we do, and I do just charge them a production fee. So, but yeah, yep. It gets interesting. We're gonna be copywriting scholarship challenge, and that's what we're working on. We're trying to figure out, maybe this week, no, maybe, trying to
How has
figure out.
that not been copyrighted
I
by
have
now?
no idea.
Is it, how many years? It's like
40 years.
40 some years he's been doing that?
43 years. Not copyrighted,
Just sort of count.
but we want to copyright it. So I don't know if that's something, do you guys help with copywriting or connecting us to?
That's illegal,
I
right?
think you gotta go to an attorney.
Legal. Or go online.
Yeah, you might be able to do it online. I know you might not guarantee it.
Right.
Might be able to do your legwork and then take it to the,
Yeah.
save some fees.
Yeah, see the
And
hourly
their
fee.
employee do it.
So I know down here at Gannon's, we do the commercial insurance, we do the small business insurance. As you walk through, back here, we have John, the marketing department's mainly back here. They put me back here because I'm so loud, I disrupt people when I talk on the phone. But when you first walked in, that was the personal lines. That'd be home and auto service center. Okay. The second room was the commercial service.
It has the upstairs.
No, that's the health.
Oh, okay.
The first, the one before that is the commercial. Then the first one you walked into where you see everybody sitting out there,
Yeah.
they're talking to people about home and auto insurance all day long. Mainly service. Somebody's buying a car, somebody's selling a house. whatever.
I'm calling to get an insurance binder.
Right, yeah, yep, and,
Helping you go through Medicare insurance. I spent an hour in here with Rochelle a year ago.
okay,
Thank God, because I had no idea what I needed.
I go to her every time
I
I
had,
get all this stuff in the mail. I said,
well,
"What
yeah,
am I
and I'm
supposed to-"
still getting stuff in the mail. I was actually gonna ask you, Is that something I have to sign up for every year? And once I have it, I'm good
I
to
don't
go.
think you have to sign up.
Unless I need any changes, I would call her and let her walk me through it.
That's what.
And I get tons of stuff in the mail that tell me all this extra stuff is free. I throw it away. I mean, I brought 2 of them with me because I thought, one was Humana, $0 a month. I'm like, well, why don't I have this? Because it really isn't. It doesn't cover anything, but I get tons of stuff in the mail to do all this enrollment, and I completely leave it up to her to tell me what I
That's
do next.
I do too.
Yeah.
She's the Medicare.
Yeah.
Specialist. And it's like signing up. She says, Sean, you have to sign up at this date.
Right.
This date. But Cheryl had to sign up. And so I took it to her and she said, yeah, she just had her sign up and, all the rest of the stuff that we get in the mail, just toss it and
Yeah.
I'll tell you what you need to do.
There you go. That's what I figured.
So that works for me. So it should, and she does it all day long. As a matter of fact, we're gonna put more people on. That department's growing so fast.
I'm sure.
The
I'm
baby
sure
boomers,
it is.
well, the end of the baby boomers are coming through
Yep.
like us, right? So,
Yep.
Sorry,
they're
last week.
adding 2 or 3 more right
Wow.
here to handle that.
That's awesome.
Um,
What I found amazing was it didn't cost me anything to sit down with her,
mm-mm,
to have her walk me through what I needed to sign up for.
No,
So I kept saying, what is your fee? There's no fee. How can you just do this for free for me?
well,
What?
in order to get that license, in order to get that, appointment, and in order to follow the rules that the government wants you to follow.
Right.
You have to offer that. You have to offer that. You have to
Okay.
offer, you can't advertise. There's an odd way of advertising.
Yeah.
And lots of rules.
Yeah,
So,
but it was a blessing to be able to go to her.
see, I see a lot of
was totally
people,
confused.
see a lot of people I haven't seen in years coming through, so.
Yeah, and you have to do by October, whatever, before your 65th, before, like, there's all these
Yeah.
dates and rules, and
People don't know
so
that.
luckily she walked me through it, and it was kind of awesome.
With all the confusion going on with the government right now, nobody knows what's
Yeah.
up and what's down, so.
And it's better, I mean, here than the area of aging.
Oh, for
I
sure.
don't think a lot of rules have changed. They just make it sound like it has.
Yeah.
You know? So,
Hey, Lisa, if you can hear us, we're still connected. I see you have your hand raised, but I didn't get any message back from you. You can hear us and you have a question. Try and mute your mic or shoot me your question on Facebook Messenger. Sorry. Guys, go ahead. I just see.
I think you asked her to raise her hand if she here.
That was early. This
This just
popped
came
up. Not just, it was while I had the PDF up. It might have been a little bit ago. Nothing else. I'll reach out to her and we'll get that question answered.
Yeah, at any time, I'll get you some business cards before you leave. We'll get them down.
Yep.
If you guys have questions, don't hesitate to call me.
Okay.